Hello out there, this is Wake Angel 2001, and a couple days ago I finally got something in the mail that I've been waiting for quite some time. I have finally completed the most convoluted combiner set that has ever existed in Transformers history, with the first two members coming in what was it, was it Titan's Return? I think it was either Titan's Return or Combiner Wars, and then the others came later on in the Siege of Cybertron with a remold that removed the gimmick and was crap. And then a figure that was an Amazon Prime membership exclusive. And then finally this one, which I had to frickin' pre-order 2 months in advance. It is Autobot Lancer. So yes, the final member of the G1 female Autobot team is finally out. So she has this plain brown box, which inside I have removed packaging. Inside we have the Lancer figure. So let's clear everything out of the way and get a proper review going. Outside of the packaging, Lancer is a very contrasting orange and purple, which are some pretty decent complementary colors. And she comes packed with a very ordinary instruction sheet. Although it is an instruction sheet that was specially printed for her. It has her name, and that is her face sculpt on there. So you can't accuse her of being... You can't accuse them of being too lazy, because at the very least they made sure that her instruction sheet was personalized for her. So that's nice. Now let's take a look at the figure itself up close. Lancer is based off of the same modification of the mold that Greenlight was, meaning that despite the fact that it's a Siege figure, she actually has 2 less 5mm ports. For a line that was famous for sticking 5mm ports everywhere they possibly could on the other figures, they went and took some off on this mold. I really don't understand their logic. She is purple and blue the whole way. Quite an interesting color aesthetic. Although I do recall in the G1 cartoon she did have a little bit of white incorporated, mostly in her thighs. But, you know, I'm just nitpicking. It's just wonderful enough that this figure actually exists, so I'm not gonna get too nitpicky on that. Alright. Her head and helmet is very much like the cartoon, with that thing coming out of her forehead and the fin on top. So at the very least you have a face that looks like her. And I kind of like how she has the really light purple lipstick. So it does stick out on her face. And that's really the only original molding for this, because aside from that, below the neck, everything is pretty much exactly the same as the Greenlight mold, just in different colors. So, just for the sake of completion, let's break down the articulation. You have a ball-jointed head that gets some expressiveness and can turn pretty easily. No hindrances there. You have the ball-jointed shoulders that have more range of movement than the pin disc version that the Chromia version of the mold had. Ball-jointed elbows. Nothing in the wrist because of the way the forearms are molded because of the remold. Although that really only takes out the inward hinge that the original version of the mold had. You still have 2 waist swivels, the one that breaks the sculpt because it's actually a transformation joint, and then the one underneath it that is the actual waist joint. And because of the way it's built, she does not have a crotch flap that flies off when you try to move her legs like the Chromia version of the mold, which I will take every opportunity to dump on, because that remold was terrible and Hasbro should feel bad about it. She has an awesome double-jointed knee, not instead of the crappy single-jointed version that the Chromia version of the mold had. And although this thing doesn't move, it also doesn't get in the way. The only flaw on my figure is that some of the purple paint splotched onto that part of the kibble, and it's like on there. I can't just wipe it off. It's like really, it's like on there. It's really bad. It like melted in. A slight ball joint to the ankle, which was the one good thing that the Chromium mold had, that it had better ankle rockers than this, but you know, that's the one thing. The backpack kibble is variable. You can have it folded down if you want it to be a skirt. You can fold it up to be a more concise backpack. You can fold this part out so she has some spikes going on. So like you can alter the silhouette. I'll get into that later. So yep, it's another use of this mold, and it's a perfectly functional and exceptional version of the mold. Like it hasn't. The hips are a little bit loose, but not so much that she can't hold a pose, so you don't have to worry about the mold degradation issues. Her gun does have a paint application on it. There's a blue stripe going down the middle, done on both sides, so nice. Other than that, it's the exact same mold that Nova Star came with. It's just that it's cast in black plastic instead of gray plastic, and she has her own hand. It's a hand in her colors with the purple fingers and the blue, and you can take this thingy out so you can stick a Titan Master or an Enigma combination or whatever in there, and then this thing kind of looks like a little translucent purple gun. So yeah, in robot mode, she is very much just Lancer, one of the repaint brigade. So let's get her into vehicle mode and see if that still holds up. And here is that vehicle mode that we're so used to seeing. And hey, look at this. This actually rolls really well. When it's transformed, the hands give plenty of clearance to the wheels, so they don't drag on the ground like they did for the Greenlight version of the mold. I don't know what they did. Maybe they tweaked the mold just slightly, or maybe it's a random luck of the draw with assembly, but for some reason, this one actually works better as a car than its mold sister does. I'm guessing maybe it was just individual tolerances in the joints, but yeah, it looks fine. I mean, it's a purple and blue thingy that's vaguely car-shaped and has wheels, and aside from the exposed hands here at the very bottom, it does a pretty decent job of hiding its robot kibble. Actually, I think I might like the way that it hides the hands slightly better than the original version of the mold, which kind of had the hands blatantly on the back. So, yeah, she looks fine. Alright, so now that she's been pretty much reviewed individually, there is of course only one thing left to do, and that is to put her with her team and see what the combined form properly looks like. So here are the four mold sisters side by side by side by side. And yes, we will have Chromia and their leader, Elita 1, make their cameos later on when they are relevant. But for now, we're just comparing it. Starting with Moonracer, the first iteration of this mold. And remember, that means that this is Moonracer's mold and everyone else is a mold sister of her. So, like I was saying, the way that the hand kibble is handled in this remold, actually, I think I like it a little bit better because the obvious hand bumper is kind of silly, while here it at least does a better job of blending into the fender. At least from, you know, like, maybe this looks a little bit better from the side, this one looks a little bit better from behind, whatever. It's not like one is terrible or not. So, yeah, there's the four of them, and really they're only differentiated by their color schemes. So you can see the much wider expanse of translucent plastic on the front of Flare Up and Lancer, whilst Greenlight has a much smaller translucent bit, and you know, I guess like I can go on and on, but I'll just like do a quick parade. I do like how the hubcaps are painted on this version, though. It's funny, only two of them have painted hubcaps. Flare Up has gray hubcaps. Lancer, since she's like the premium online pre-order thingy, she gets the super silver treatment. Although the other one, which was an online exclusive, does not have painted hubcaps at all. Then again, the original version of the mold didn't have painted hubcaps either. And there's varying degrees of how well they can roll. I think the Lancer version of the mold rolls best, funnily enough. Although none of them are truly bad at rolling. maybe a little bit the green light one, because like I said, something came out wonky in the engineering on mine, but it does still roll even if all four wheels have a hard time touching the ground at once.
Hey, this is audio recorded afterwards, and I am a complete flubber. I accidentally called Novastar Flare Up when I meant to call her Firestar, her original G1 name for one thing, and every time I meant to say orange, I said blue. Blue is literally the opposite of orange. What is wrong with me? Anyway, I just wanted to show a quick picture of the original G1 pictures of what the female Autobots look like. This is how they appeared in the original cartoon, and let's show how that's relevant to the toys now.
So the reason I showed those pictures of their original G1 looks was to have some context of how I like to display them. Because there is a way to make the mold look a little bit different so it's not obvious that you just have four of the same toy with different colors. So like for example with Lancer and Greenlight, because they had more armor plates on their backs, I tend to leave their kibble skirts down to homage that armor plate they have on their skirt. And to differentiate them from each other, I move Greenlight's fins back as far as they'll go so that they're as hidden as possible from the front, while with Lancers, I angle them out slightly to make them look a little bit more like her armor spikes. Just, it's a very subtle thing, but it can actually alter their silhouette and add some variety to your shelf. With Moonracer and Novastar, because Novastar had like the biggest backpack in the picture, I actually incorporate the combiner hand into part of her backpack, while everything else is otherwise folded up. While Moonracer, she has the folded up treatment, but her fins are put out, again, to create the spike look. So with this way, you can have all four of your female Autobots who are based off of the same mold, standing shoulder to shoulder on your shelf, and like I said, it wouldn't be completely obvious that you have the same toy over and over again. I mean, it's still pretty obvious, but it's not completely obvious, if that makes any sense. Alright, so at long last we have the full G1 female Autobot team in toy form, including Chromia Senpai, who is the only one of the set to have two toys. Sure, they're both remolds, and one of them is terrible, but hey, she's still the Senpai because she was the first of the group to get an official toy, and, she has two of them, so she still wins. But now that we have all five of the combining members of the team, that means we can finally build the true Elita 1 combiner, Orthia. This is completely random, but I like to stick the feet and one of the extra hands together like this to make like a little drone. Like I don't know, it's kind of cute the way he has these big old feet, like doop doo doo. Yay, look at me, doo 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 doo. I don't know. I just think that this is just a cute little derpy thing. Alright, while I was forming Orthia, I did find one weakness of this mold. It is when it goes into leg mode, the foot doesn't want to go into the peg. It falls right out. Yeah. This was so bad, I had to go back and check. So here's the Lancer, and the green light, and yeah, hers holds up just fine. So her foot peg, like they made it bigger or something, and it doesn't want to hold on to the peg for the foot. So there's a problem. She can't be a leg. Okay, so I'm gonna turn her into an arm and have one of the other ones be the leg. And behold mighty Orthia in all of her glory. And yes, I chose to assemble her in this fan mode, which makes use of the two extra hands as chest armor, so that they get to be used as part of the final construction, and also all the airplane kibble is on the figure's back, because having all this airplane kibble be the chest just made it look weird. It made her it just looks too much like a crashed up pile of crap on the chest, you know? This way, it's significantly smoother. She actually has a waist and definable hips in this form, and like all of her awesome, componenture shows. She's also like all combiners, she's also a little bit top heavy. I don't know. I think the detent ratchets for her hips are a little bit too far apart because, but that's a common complaint for all the combiners. Like they use ratchets so that you don't have to worry about friction getting lost. But then they don't put enough points in the ratchets, so it's a little bit awkward to pose them. But the complete combined form does indeed have all the good articulation that you need. So if you're careful enough, you can get some pretty good action posing out of it, which is of course very difficult to do on camera, but hey, this is a thing. It exists. It is Elita 1 and 4 members of the original G1 female Autobots combined together into one giant robot team, which is kind of the thing that I had always wanted ever since they first announced Combiner Wars. And here it is, so many years later, and after we got a different female Combiner team, 2 in fact, Victorion and her Megatronia repaint, so, she's the third in line for the all-female robot combiners, but damn is it finally satisfying. It's totally satisfying to finally have it. So, there we go. That's the mighty Orthia, the G1 female Autobot combiner, and I guess I'm gonna call Chromia her advanced scout, because she can't participate in the combining team, but she can, still be a member of it somehow. She's their specialist. She's their spy. She does something. I don't know. It's a toy. Have fun with your toys. That's what they're for. This is Wake Angel 2001. Finally happy to have completed this particular set, and I'm signing off.